Welcome back. If you are new here to my channel, my name is Sylvia. I make videos on planning and writerly things and do the occasional review. So today's video is going to be a review on the Sharpie S Note and the Propus highlighters by Uni. I have actually owned one set of the Propus highlighters. I believe it's the light set. I've never owned the smoke or the basic, so these are definitely new to me. I have never owned the Sharpie S Notes. These are brand new, I think, to the market. I don't know how long they've been out, but I basically wanted to purchase the other two sets of the Uni Propus, and when I put in Propus highlighters, these showed up and I thought, what, I have to get these as well. So I actually bought these on Amazon as a set, and I will link it down below. It was cheaper to actually buy all three of them than it was to try to buy these separately or as a set. So these were $16.99 and these were $16.99, which made me think, wow, I better just do, a Sharpie S Note versus the Propus highlighters, since they are marketed at the same price. So let's start with the Sharpie S Notes. This claims that they are note-taking markers, as well as underlining markers, highlighting markers, and drawing markers. No bleed, which is amazing, and that they're versatile because they have a tip that can do not only a broad, but a very fine tip. And I found this interesting because every highlighter can do this, but Sharpie, I guess, is the first company I've ever seen try to market it this way. I don't know if that's true, but good on them, because technically these are a dual tipped highlighter, but you could do the same thing with just the one side. We'll see if that's true or not. Now, even though both of these are $16.99, you end up getting 24 markers with the Sharpie S Notes. There you go, right there. And then you end up getting 15 if you buy this set, because there's 5 in each pack. Currently, there are other Uni Propus highlighters out there. I don't think that they come with more than a pack of 3 in a set, and they might be a little bit more like the old Sharpie highlighters. Let me see. Yeah, I have one next to me. This is the old Sharpie highlighters that you can still purchase. These tend to be a little bit more, grab a piece of paper. So here's a paper. These are more fluorescent, very bold. Highlighters. They definitely have the old style. We show you some of the Sharpie designs. So this is the fine point. These are the fine point ultra fine. And so these are pretty decent looking. When I first saw these, I thought, man, they look like they're made out of really cheap plastic. So if you had a brain fart like I did and forgot that Sharpie actually does make highlighters and have forever. I used to use these in high school. They certainly do. So let me open this. We will pull out one of these deeper greens. So these look and feel a lot more like cheap plastic, even more so than these. They do have the same design top. Pretty close. A few differences. They do say Sharpie right there. Debossed. Maybe it's the white that makes it look so cheap. Maybe these are exactly the same type of material. But certainly these feel a little bit more sturdy. Even the lid here seems to be a little bit more expensive filling than this one. So Sharpie is saying that you can use one tip to have 2 different designs or styles. So you can go with a bold, and then if you turn it and just use the tip underneath, you can get a fine line, which is true. And I feel like that's true of any highlighter. So here is the old brand of Sharpie. Got the bold. And then underneath it, if you turn it, you got the fine. So let me open a pack of the Propus highlighters. Now these are called Propus window highlighters, and that is because, here I'll just do it all in green, of this window design where you can kind of see through on the tip. So there's the bold, and then if you turn it over, there's the fine line. Now this is a dual tip pen, so here's actually the fine tip. It's even finer than actually using just the tip of this side. Plus you can write with this one. Let's see if you can actually write with the tip of this one. Yeah, I guess you can. So it's not going to be as fine of a tip though, so just keep that in mind. So when you're shopping for a highlighter, the first thing you should really ask yourself is, what exactly am I looking for in a highlighter? And for me, it's minimal bleed through and minimal ghosting. So I have here a couple of sticky notes. This one's by Post-it. Not sure if these ones are by Post-it or not. But this has like this sticky backing, which I appreciate. These are Post-its that I tend to use whenever I am making notes for books or, you know, just words of the day and stuff like that. So I tend to use highlighters on these. And a lot of times if I flip it over, depending on the highlighter, there will be bleed through or severe ghosting. It just depends. So let's see if these Sharpie highlighters, let's use a different color. Use this color. Are going to bleed through or not. So and no, they don't, which is amazing. I love that. These might be different paper, so we'll try them out on all. Orange and purple, those are cringe colors for sure. So that's really nice. Now, the mild liners tend to bleed through like everything, so I don't recommend mild liners for things like this. Let me grab a book, because a lot of times we like to highlight in books. I tend to go to the friction highlighter for that because they are very soft and you can erase them. So here is a college book that I have that I ended up keeping because there was a lot of great writing in here, so I thought, man, I might as well just keep it. So the pages in here are fairly thin. You can see through. A lot of times we're going to use highlighters on books like this. This is like Bible thin. It's like Tomoe River paper thin. So let's see how the Sharpie and the Propus highlighters work in here. One of the reasons why I've chosen to use the Propus is because not only are they more of a subtle highlighter, they're not really like fluorescent like this, they also tend to not bleed or ghost as much than other highlighters. At least that's been my experience. So purple is pretty dark. We'll see how the purple does, and then if it doesn't work out well, then I'll go ahead and use a lighter color. I think that that works out okay. I mean, I'm trying to do this at a weird, awkward angle. Usually I would turn the book, but you can underline with this. And a lot of times if I'm working in something like this, especially with a darker highlighter, I tend to underline instead of highlighting so that I can read it better. And then of course with this guy, you have no problem having a very nice thin line that's not going to run over. Even if you have a shaky hand or you're laying in bed doing this, it's certainly going to be very nice and precise. So I'm really loving these Propus highlighters so far. These aren't doing too shabby, but again, if you're someone who wants to have more of a defined line, I would prefer having a dual tipped as opposed to trying to use this one tip for two purposes. Let's turn the page. So you can see here that both of them actually bled through. And that is a situation that we all have to go through. It's not too bad that you can't read. This is dark. I should have used a purple. They don't really have, I guess they do, but it's kind of light. Let me take out the purple because it is a darker shade. Because again, you can buy these separately. So if you only wanted the light set, you could certainly do so. So I would consider this more of a violet and this more of a purple. And you can see you have slight, a little bit of bleed through when you end. and start with your highlighter, you tend to have the most bleed through, but it's mostly ghosting. You can't even see where I wrote with these, and that is again why I prefer to have the light set of the Propus. Let me see if I can get a lighter color out of here to see if that makes a difference. I will use the lightest purple as well. So this is still darker than the light. So you have a lot of bleed through and a lot of ghosting. So Propus light set for the win when it comes to Biblically thin books like this. Certainly with Tomoe River paper, I think you can use either. Tomoe River paper, even though it's Biblically thin, is its own animal. It definitely will hold probably all of these and not bleed through. If I remember, nope, if I try to wait, I won't remember. Let me see if I can find some Tomoe River paper to use this real quick. Okay, so this is the 52 GSM. Then we'll use the darker green color. And you can see that the Propus has the least amount of ghosting. The Sharpie has more ghosting, but neither bleed through. So when it comes to, if you want less ghosting, still the Propus highlighters for the win. And certainly they do have the finer tip. So on to the next test. I feel like we should use a gel pen because that's what I use for the most part. So I'm going to try out the new Sharpie S Gel in 8.7 and see how well they highlight over this. I went onto Sharpie's website, and a funny thing is everything's broken down into categories. So if you look under highlighters, you won't actually find the S Note 24 pack of Sharpies. You have to go under markers, which I found fascinating. I thought they would have them in both places. So is it really a highlighter? I don't know. I mean, it works that way, but I think it's kind of weird they wouldn't have it in both places. I went on the website to see because a lot of times companies will name the colors of their products. They didn't have one there, so if you can find one somewhere, they didn't have them on Amazon either because that's where I purchased them. Let me know down below and I will find it. But I did go to Tokyo Pen Shop, and it's pretty funny. I don't know if these really have names for the actual colors, but what they did on Tokyo Pen Shop's website is they named them basically what the color is, and then they just put light in front of it or smoke or basic so that you would know it was from that set. So I'm going to do the same. So let's start with the Uni Propus highlighters first. I'm going to go ahead and put this in my Scribbles That Matter notebook because this is what I'm going to be using. So I'm going to skip a couple of pages here in the back. We will start with the light set first. Now I will do the smoke set. Now the basic set. Okay, so that is all three sets of the Uni Propus highlighters. So the first set you can see is very light, and I like them. I think they look like more traditional highlighters that are just slightly muted. They're not going to be fluorescent. So I use these the most in anything important, like when I'm highlighting in like a college textbook. The second set, the smoke set, is more like, it reminds me of mild liners, like the colors of the mild liners, which is really pretty. And it's between like the light and the basic set. So it's kind of like a middle set where it's not too light and it's not too dark. So this might be your Goldilocks set. The basic set is very bold, and I really like it too. I don't know, there's something about it. It's almost like a regular marker that you can use as a highlighter, and I do like that the black can completely black out a word. The smoke black is more of a gray, which I really appreciate. I use a lot of gray to mark out things so that I can still see them, like if I have a list or something like that. So I enjoy all three sets, and I'm happy that I got all three. So before we move on to the Sharpie S Notes, I did forget to mention that in this set of 3 that I purchased, it came with this like really cheapy deepy Ziploc kind of baggy. I know Ziploc's a brand, but you know, kind of bag that you can put some highlighters in. Like you could put the whole one set, I think, would probably fit in here if you needed to. I certainly have my share of of pen cases, so I'm not worried about this, but it's kind of cool that it came with it. So you can fit a whole set of 5 in here. Whichever set that you wanted to take on the go with you, you can certainly do so. It's pretty loud. But since I knew I was going to have all these extra, you know, markers and highlighters, I decided to purchase something from Amazon. So this is what I ended up getting. You can buy these in a set of 3. And there's actually several different sets that you can kind of mix and match. So you can also get the plastic cups that look like these with a couple of these towers. I don't know what they're called. I call them towers. Pencil holder towers. So they're not a clear plastic. They're more of a like a frosted plastic, so they're not completely see-through. They are advertised that you can lay them like this or you can stand them up. I did bring a couple of Post-its just to show you that you can put them in here, and you can use this to hold your Post-its if you wanted to. And even if you stand them up, put it at an angle so that you can see, you can put your Post-its in here as well. This is where I'm going to house these new pens that I ended up getting, and I'm going to put them together based on their set. So in case you get confused, it does say on here, so this is the smoke red, so this is the smoke set. This is a light. Light, 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 light. So the first set is in there. This is the rest of the smoke. Now you can stack these on top of each other if you wanted to, but I just want to separate them by sets, so that's cool. Then last but not least, the basic set. All right, so that looks pretty snazzy. I'm going to push these off to the side, off of camera. I do like that you can put them as a set or just one in one place and one in another. So let's get back to our review and our swatches of the Sharpie S Notes 24 pack. And since I don't have the name of the colors for these, I'm just going to write S Note all the way down and then swatch them. Okay, I'm going to zoom in quickly so you can see how all of these colors look. So I'm done swatching the 24 Sharpie S Notes, and it's clear that you're going to get more color variation with the 24 pack than you are with getting all 3 sets of the Propus highlighters, totaling up to 15. Unfortunately, with these Sharpie S Notes, for some reason, they've really denied you blue. You don't have like an actual solid blue color. I guess you could kind of call this blue. It's still a little bit lighter than the smoke blue over here from Propus, but that's the only like blue that you actually get. You have some blue with some green mixed in, some blue with some purple, but not an actual true blue. Whereas with the Propus, you end up getting a blue in every set. You have your light blue, your smoke blue, and then this one is a little bit more of a brighter blue, but it's still more of a blue than you get besides this one over here. When it comes to red, you do get a solid red here and a pink, which can be seen as a lighter red. And then of course you have a very light pink. You don't actually get a red with the S Note, which is very interesting since there are more colors. You'd think that they would give you more options for a red. You could kind of use this as a red, even though it's still more of a pink color. And then you have like a deep kind of rust which is a mix of red and brown, but not a true red like you do here. Because I do a lot of YouTube things, I like to mark red for YouTube and be able to see it. So I guess I could use this color or this color for that, but not a true red at all. I do like with the Sharpies that you end up getting two different kinds of gray. Over here in the basic set, you end up getting a black, and then in the smoke set, you end up getting a smoke black, which is more of a gray. But again, you have to buy both of these sets in order to get the black as well as the smoke black. Whereas in this set, you get two that work really well. So I appreciate that this one's a little bit darker, and then you have one that's a little bit lighter. Not everyone is probably going to be excited about the black, but I do like to black out some words or some notes. So either way, I enjoy them. I think that Uni has done a really great job of giving you the basic colors, not only in the light set, but in all three of their sets. Whereas here, I just don't understand why we don't have blue. I think that's really weird that they want to give us all these different shades of green, but not blue. However, if you remember, they are marketing these as highlighters, but also for notes and underlining as well as drawing. And I think if you're drawing like a landscape, you're going to need a bunch of different shades of green. So that makes a little bit more sense. You think they'd have, I guess this is going to be their sky blue, but I feel like they should have a solid, true blue in the set, and they just don't. And that is just disappointing, because if you're like me and you're a planner person who tends to, you know, color code things, and you have a blue set for, I don't know, your son or something specific, you really do need a blue. I guess I can use this one. I wouldn't really care for this one, but this blue or this blue works really, really well for me. So that's just interesting and something to note. Okay, so that has been my review of the 24 pack of Sharpie S Notes and the Pro Plus highlighters by Uni. I hope that you enjoyed this and this was helpful to you. I hope that if you have to choose between one set versus the other, or you just want one of the five instead of buying all three sets, this has helped you decide. Again, with the Uni set, you definitely get a fine tip with this dual tip. And then you get a solid bold on the other side. I appreciate that, especially if you want to write notes in your textbooks or even in your planners or journals. I think having a dual side works best. I appreciate the fact that on here, there is the name of the actual highlighter, which I didn't see before. And I love that. I think that my liner does the same. Whereas on the Sharpie S Note, you only have one tip, and yeah, you can use it this way. However, it's not going to be as thin as over here, as well as the fact that they don't actually put a name on here, because as far as I can tell on Amazon as well as on their website, they don't name their colors, which is kind of frustrating, because if you're someone like me who's going to do a whole page like this where you have done swatches, you're going to have to like literally take a Sharpie like a fine tipped one like this and write down a number, I guess, on here. Like I could number this 001 or just 01, since there are only 24 right now. Who knows if they'll add more colors. And then I would have to write, you know, 01 and number all of these myself, which is kind of annoying. I prefer for them to give them a number or a name and then have it right there on there, so that I can say, okay, this is the color I want, instead of having to come over here and say, wait, which one is this one? Because these three, well, at least these two kind of get kind of similar. Everyone knows that highlighters and markers like this, they tend to dry a little darker. So I would be pretty confused between these two. It's like, which one is it? It might be this one, it might not be. So that is a complete downside as far as I am concerned. So I really hope that in the future, Sharpie will make a note of that and people will complain about it a little bit, so that works out, because I'm not having it. For right now, if there is a clear winner, I would say that I am going to go with the Uni Propus. They make me happy. They have enough blue for me to be happy. All right, my name is Sylvia. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope that this was helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.